Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm glad you got logged in yesterday. We are going to begin with the very basics of JavaScript. So we are going to be working in the JavaScript and graphics unit, and we are going to work on lessons 1 and 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a preview of what you need to know so that you can do the 2 exercises. However, you should go back and watch the videos that they provide for supplemental use. We are going to start right here with the Hello World lesson. I have opened up the example right here, so that's what I'm going to go to. And this is showing how we create a program. The first thing we're going to do is start with a start function. Every function starts with the actual word function. You can see that it is a keyword because it is in a different color. Anytime something changes colors, that stands for something right here. Start is giving CodeHS the keyword that is where it should begin. So if you don't have a start function, won't necessarily know. Now if you get into different IDEs working with JavaScript, don't always have to have a start function, but in CodeHS, that's how they know you're ready to go. So what we're working with here, and again, watch the video for this to learn a little bit more, but we are working with the print line. Print line tells us that we are going to print whatever is inside the parentheses. We want that to print to our console. And this over here is our console. So when we hit run, we have Hello World. Now Hello World is just a piece of text that we want to show. Anytime we want to do that, we have to have it in quotation marks. If I take the quotation marks off, it thinks that I'm trying to run a variable, and it's going to tell me throw an error. Okay, so I got to make sure, little quick, if I highlight and hit parentheses, it'll automatically wrap it for me. So I can put anything in here. I can change this to Coach Floyd, and when I run it, that's what pops up. Okay, so I can put anything I want between the quotation marks. That's basically all you're going to do. You're going to tell us a name and a hobby for the exercise, and you would be done with lesson 1. So now we're going to move on to, so make sure that you get all 4 of these complete. We're going to move on to variables. Alright, so this is lesson 2, talking about variables. This is one of the most important parts that we will use, because we will use variables in every single exercise that you do from this point forward. Okay, variables are basically names for things, just like in math class you have X, which represents a number. Instead of using X and Y and Z and things like that, we want to use actual words that mean something. So a variable is like a box with a name that can hold a value. If I want to hold something that tells me the number of apples, I want to name it something, such as num apples. I want it to make sense, because if I write a large program, hundreds of lines of code, I need to know exactly what those variables are referring to. To declare it, to actually write it in the code, I have to start with var. That is telling JavaScript that you are creating a variable. Then you name your variable. Okay, so var num apples, and that declares it. In order to give it a value, I write the var, then the variable name, and then I set it equal to whatever I want it to be. So var num apples equals 5. So in memory, the computer's memory, it is holding the value 5 in that variable. I can reassign it. Once I put the var, the var, I do not have to put that again. I can use the variable name over and over and over again. I can give it different values. I can add to it, subtract from it. I can do a lot with it, but I only put the var once. So right here, the highlighted code has var num apples equals 5. Then when I change it, num apples equals 0, you can see in the box it now has set that value to 0. So there's three basic types of variables. You have numbers, You have booleans, which are true or false values. We will look at that in just a minute. And you have strings, which are letters, sentences, paragraphs, anything with words. Okay, and it can also be a mixture of numbers and letters. So these show that the integers, different types of numbers. Floats are numbers with decimals. We don't use that quite as often, but you will see that right here you still only use VAR in front of it. If you learn other programming languages such as Java, this for an integer would have to be int, and down here for floats, it's actually called a double in Java. You would have to put double down here. So you have to change with every type of variable. JavaScript, it does it for you. You just put the VAR. This is a Boolean. So you would put your VAR, you would create your variable name. Boolean variable names are a little bit different because you almost want the variable name to ask a question. Okay, so you could think of this as var logged in, and in your mind you would think, is it logged in? Well, that's a true or false. Are you logged in? True or false? Var is the game over. You could actually write is game over if you wanted to. That's what you need to think of it as. Okay, and that's either true or false. It's only two possible values for a Boolean, either true or false. String type. So string is text. Anything between quotes. So var name equals Jeremy. As you saw on the last one, we put hello world between quotes. That would be a string. I could store it in a variable and then print it out, and I'll show you how to do that. Var question equals how old are you? Again, it is just anything between quotes, and that is a string. A couple of naming conventions. They must start with a letter, a $, or an underscore. I don't put $signs or underscores just because I don't think they're needed. You can start every variable just with a letter. After the letter, you can put anything you want. You cannot start a variable with a number. Variable names are case sensitive. So for example, lowercase name is different than name with a capital N. So you have to be careful about that. We always, always, always want to start variable names with lowercase letters. The reason is as we get deeper into coding, more into the Coding 2 class, we start talking about classes and objects, and those are reserved with capital letters. So always want to start, and that we want to use lower camel case, and what that means is that we want to start the word, if we have multiple words such as num apples, we start with a lowercase letter, and the second word is capitalized. So num and then capital A apples, and that just shows that you have different words put together. So that is what lower camel case means. Here's a couple good versus bad. Cannot put a space in a variable name. My var, you cannot do that. So a better one is num apples. Cannot start with a number. Okay, so we have, here's a good one. This shows your camel case lower, the second word capitalized, the third word capitalized. So that's the lower camel case. Var in is a possible variable. However, it is not descriptive and would be hard to remember what it is holding. So a much better one is total score. Let you know exactly what you're working with. All right, so let's look real quick at here's some basic naming. So what we looked at earlier was, in the last one, we would say print line Coach Floyd. Now I do need semicolons after each line. If I don't, you'll see yellow pop up over here, and it lets me know I'm missing a semicolon. So in JavaScript, when you finish a line, a piece of code, then you would put a semicolon. So now what I'm going to do is it's going to print Coach Floyd. However, if I needed to write Coach Floyd a whole lot of times, instead of doing that, I could print out name. Now, name is a variable. Okay, so name is a variable. It is holding the value of Coach Floyd. When I print it in here, I have to put the variable name. Now, since it's a variable, I am not going to put it into quotation marks. So now when I run it, I get Coach Floyd again. If I was to put it in quotation marks, then it would print name. Okay, so that's the way we're going to use this. We're going to set it. I could change. Oops. I could set the name to Coach Floyd, and then I could say name equals hello world. And now it would print hello world because I changed the value from Coach Floyd to hello world. Okay, so this is just a basic intro into the first two lessons. Again, if you watch these videos, you'll get basically the same information. I just highlight what I think is a little bit more important. I will be looking for all of these circles to be turned green. Okay, one last thing. In Canvas with this module is a list of vocab words for lessons 1 through 5. Make sure that you look and study over those vocab words because you will see those on your quiz after we finish these 5 lessons. If you have any questions, please contact me through Teams, through Canvas, or through email. Have a great day.